Is Tuesday morning, September 20th. I'm first warning meteorologist Eric Burris. This is Coffee Talk. We get together 7 days a week, chat about what's going on in the world of weather, and hopefully get you updated. Of course, in the bottom corner, we're running the very latest information on Hurricane Fiona, the first major hurricane of this year's hurricane season, very near the Turks and Caicos Islands, finally pulling away from Puerto Rico, finally pulling away from the Dominican Republic. So for friends living in those islands, things are getting better. It'll get a little bit better for the Turks and Caicos Islands here today, tonight, tomorrow. And then the Bahamas are going to have to watch Fiona very, very carefully as the storm system approaches there. And that's only one piece of the overall puzzle that we're watching. What about our local impacts from that? Yeah, there's that. Plus, the other thing. What? What other thing? What are you talking about? Yeah, there's something after Fiona. So the top two things we're monitoring is a drying forecast for Central Florida. And the other thing, oh man, always something. Always something, right? All right, so let's chat about things. First off, a beautiful shot looking over Disney Springs on our Tower Cam network. A little haze off in the distance, but overall, it is lovely. I want to thank you for joining us on Coffee Talk. We're going to be talking local first, then we're going to be getting to the tropics, and of course, I love the interactivity part here, so we'll be able to chat all of us together, and that, I think, is going to be fun. I think we're going to have a great time, as we always do. Temperature-wise, low to mid-70s, feels great. First warning, live Doppler radar. Relatively quiet. We have been watching a little bit of rain up here in Flagler County, so let's zoom in there and just kind of see what's doing. Showers, nothing all that ominous. Always love the ability to say that. So looking at the forecast today, we'll go with a mix of clouds and sunshine this morning, but through lunch, we'll start to see the clouds build. We'll see a few showers 2, 3, 4 o'clock, and then we get into thunderstorms. Coverage today, very similar to yesterday, and I'm in for Manalfi again today, so we'll be tracking them throughout the afternoon. But this, the start of a downward spiral. We'll see less and less shower activity in our forecast. Pat, good morning to you. Courtney, how are you? Good morning. Paul says, you're looking tired. I can't explain to you how tired I am. I have to get a nap before I work today. I got home. I was in the weather center until like 12:30. Got home. I was probably in bed by 1, and then the alarm went off at 5 a.m. So there's that. Nervous about the system in the Southern Caribbean. Well, there's nothing in the Southern Caribbean yet, but if you're referring to the one that will be heading in that direction, I wouldn't say be nervous. I would just say we're going to for sure need to watch it. I was just telling my father, though, I think that we're going to be in storm coverage these next several days because as that system, not Fiona, as the next system works into the Caribbean, the models are getting awful consistent, and that's never a good thing. Yeah. Stephanie's asking, is the other thing going to be the one that comes around September 30th through October 4th? Well, let's look, okay? Let's finish our local forecast, Steph, and then we will get all in on the tropics. All right? All right, good morning. Rebecca says, we arrive in Orlando on the 28th, praying for great weather. Stick around for the tropical update, huh? You may not love that part of it. Yeah. All right. So there's our local forecast today. Let's look at Futurecast, and then we can get into the tropics. We'll do a fairly abbreviated version of our local forecast because I think that the tropics are going to be where most of our attention will be over these next several days. High temperature today, 91 in the city. Average high is 89, which, let that not go understated. Our average high has now dropped into the 80s. Very cool stuff. Will be in the 90s still, but at least the average is there. Here's a look at Futurecast, showing a few coastal showers, lunchtime. Notice 1, 2 o'clock, that's when the bubble up of the rains begin, perhaps a little earlier than yesterday. There's 4 p.m. when I see you on wet. Oh, no, I think Cam's doing 4. I think I'm starting at 5. When Cam sees you at 4, bubble up showers and storms, and then when I see you at 5, 5:36, everything kind of works off to the west and gradually clears out, okay? So that's just an eyeball at the day today. Overall rain coverage is down. We will notice that continuing, not just for today, but really the next couple of days, which I think that's a pretty good thing. Here's the 7-day forecast, and we'll just run this down. 91 today, 50% coverage of rain. Tomorrow, a slightly lower coverage of rain. And then for Thursday, why is that? Oh, I know why. Hold on a second. I hit the wrong button. Did she not move? Hold on. Did she not move the fall begins? Okay, that's better. Okay. I'm like, what's going on? I hit the wrong 7-day. So there you go. Fall beginning on a dry, relatively dry and hot Thursday, and then getting even hotter on Friday as we start to build the rain chances back to normal, per se, looking ahead to Saturday, Sunday, and even into the weekend. Okay? So that's the latest there. Questions, comments, concerns on our local forecast before we move out to the tropics, because of course the tropics, that's going to be the big talker these next couple of days. And while I'm waiting for questions, comments, concerns, there's Fiona. You can see we've got the data in the bottom left corner of your screen, but there's the kind of overall perspective. Winds are at 115. It is a Category 3 storm, very much over the Turks Caicos. They're getting nasty, nasty weather. This is going to continue to lift up to the northwest at about 10 or so miles an hour. And the forecast from the National Hurricane Center continues to stay fairly consistent, which certainly is never, ever, ever a bad thing. Here's the forecast from the Hurricane Center as of their full 5 a.m. advisory, staying well off to our shorelines east, right? Staying way out there. But it will be passing by Florida Thursday, Friday as a major Category 4 storm. And then after that, we have to pay attention to Bermuda. I think that this will stay just off to the west of Bermuda, but they will be getting impacts Friday early morning. A storm system of 130 miles per hour, even if it's a little close, it's still too close, right? So that's Fiona. I'm not tweeting out computer models on Fiona anymore. It's not like our main focal point anymore. Why? Because there's a new wave that we are watching back behind it. It's this one. All right, let's just see real quick. Do we have any questions about our local forecast? Patty says, hoping baseball practice gets in at 7 tonight. Looking like opening day will be more like practice. Been lightning and rain most Tuesdays and Thursdays. So tonight we may have a little bit of rainfall, but by Thursday it gets better. At least there's that. Yeah, I'll take that. Rained on and off all day and night in New Smyrna yesterday. Yeah, makes sense. Juan says any rain helps for Central Florida. For sure it does. For sure it does. Winter Springs and Oviedo have so much flooding and standing water. I saw Trotwood is closed because of flooding. What? Isn't that crazy? Mary Joanne is asking, should we be preparing further for a storm next week? All right, well, there's my caveat to talk. This is not an invest yet. It will become an invest probably today. It will be dubbed Invest 98. Pretty decent convection already going, but it is an elongated area of low pressure, Mary Joanne. So for now, it's not developed. But computer models are gangbusters on this developing. It went from having a 20% chance of developing over the next 5 days' time yesterday to a 50% chance of developing over the next 5 days' time. So things are getting interesting, and I think that number is going to continue to climb. This is going to form. Believe it or not, Fiona, north of the Dominican Republic and Haiti, is actually helping to ventilate this wave, actually helping to give it that little extra juice, right? Think about it like a little Red Bull. You know, you get a little Red Bull, you get your wings. Same thing here with this wave. Should we be preparing for a storm was the question. My response, no. What? Not yet, right? I mean, the thing hasn't even formed yet, so we don't need to be preparing for anything. What we should be doing, though, is watching this. You know, we're in that phase where, okay, we'll watch it. Well, Burris, that's hype. No, it's not hype. There's no sponsor here. I'm making no money. This is my personal time. I'm not here trying to recruit viewers so that I can make more money and line my pockets. I'm here to inform you. And my information says we probably should be watching this, okay? We don't have computer models running directly on it like spaghetti plots and things because it's not yet an invest. But what we can do is tap into the global models. This is going to be interesting, okay? I want to share model data with you. And I want you to understand that by sharing model data, I am sharing model data. I am not hyping, okay? Because when you're going to see this, you're going to be like, oh boy. Let's look at the data. Let's talk about it together, okay? This is the GFS 6Z run. What you're seeing there above where it says forecast high 88, where it says forecast high 89, that's Fiona, okay? That's not the system that we're tracking. But let's roll through time together. Timestamp, by the way, on the top right of your screen. So there goes Fiona, and then enter stage right in the Caribbean. You kind of can't see it. Let me scroll this down just a little bit more. All right. Can you see it there? No, let me scroll it more. You won't see the timestamp, but I'll call the times out. I can still see the timestamp on my screen. All right, so there you go. There it is. Enter stage right in the Southern Caribbean. So this time frame is Thursday, aka 2 days from now. Okay, the GFS 2 p.m. Thursday. We'll have Fiona just off of our east coast, and then we'll have this little wave starting to move into the Southern Caribbean. All right, let's roll through time. That's Sunday, 5 a.m., developing, staying well south of the Dominican Republic, Haiti, and Puerto Rico. Thank goodness, right? That's good, okay? But notice, and I'm just trying to read, is that a 986 low? So we're getting into hurricane status, according to the GFS, already by Sunday morning in the Caribbean, all right? Then it gets awful close to Jamaica, south of Jamaica, awful close, getting awful close to the Caymans. That's a 953 low? Now we're starting to at least eyeball a major hurricane or a strong hurricane getting awful close to Cuba. Does it hit the A-Bear box? We'll have to see. The A-Bear box would have me a bit more concerned. All right, then crosses Cuba, gets awful near the Florida Keys, the Florida Straits. There's Southwest Florida. That is Thursday, September 29th at 11 a.m., and then just kind of enjoys that Florida sunshine. Well, that's not fun. That's not the kind of computer model you want to see. But let's analyze. This is where we're not going to hype, right? So computer models are guidance, not gospel, right? They give out raw data. It's up to us to infer and interpolate and gauge what that data says. So I'm going to back this up. This is the 6Z run. Let's go to the 0Z run. Ran early this morning. I watched this as it was coming in. Same model data, maybe a little further off to the west, but developing the storm, making it strong, and bringing it generally in the same area. Let's go to the 18Z run. Came in yesterday, same area. Let's go back to the 12Z run. Came in yesterday, a little west, but still the same kind of idea. Let's go to the 6Z run from yesterday morning, and it's kind of the same thing. So now you're talking, we just looked at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 model runs of the GFS showing a pretty decent hurricane working through the Caribbean into the Gulf of Mexico late next week. Okay, that's not hype. That's showing 5 different model runs consistently. Okay, that's one piece of the puzzle. Let's push that to the side, okay? All right, so the GFS is going bonkers. That's no big surprise, right? We don't love to see the GFS do it, but it likes to do it. All right, let's take a look at the European and see what the European is doing, okay? Keep in mind that the 6Z European only goes out 90 hours, so you're not going to get much, but we can at least track it, and then we can go back through time. So there's Fiona. I'm going to go right to the end of the European. There's our 90. South of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. A little weaker, but south of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Let's go to the 0Z so we can expand on that, all right? The 0Z is even a bit weaker, but you can see it south of Hispaniola, right where it says forecast high 88, that little blue area. Let's roll through time. South of Jamaica, starting to see some greens, starting to see some development. Developing, what is that, a 989 low, 985 low, 980, 976, 972. So the European is pretty quickly intensifying it, bringing it into the Gulf, right? And the problem is when you get a storm in the Gulf, It's trapped, right? Like you could have a fish storm in the Atlantic, but when you get a system in the Gulf of Mexico, it's going to hit somebody. So that's a concern, right? I'll get to your questions here in just a couple of moments' time, but I want to just finish the kind of initial model analysis, and then I promise that we'll get into the questions, okay? So that's the 00Z European. Let's look at the 12Z European. Basically the same thing, right? So we're starting now to see the European and the GFS run to run even, showing the same kind of scenario. Yeah, it's 7, 8, 9, 10 days out, but it is super rare to have global models consistent like this and run to run consistent like this. It's pretty rare to have that sort of thing. Okay, cool. Well, remember, I always say the ensembles, they give you an idea of the confidence of the models, right? So let's look at the ensembles. And if you're familiar with ensembles, what they are, think of it as Baskin-Robbins, okay? You're going to see a bunch of L's. The closer the L's are, the more consistent they are. Notice there's a bunch of L's north of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Cool, perfect. So that means that the models are very tightly agreed as to where Fiona will go. And you kind of see they start to spread out a little bit, top right corner of your screen there. That means that the models are not 100% sure on where Fiona goes in comparison to Bermuda, but they're there. Notice bottom right corner where it says forecast high 86. That is the ensembles coming alive for this next system. Okay, let's just pause it here. This is Sunday morning, 2 a.m. This is the GFS ensembles. Fairly close together. Like seriously, fairly close together. Like spreading across Cuba. But if they were loose, if they were if they were out to lunch, you'd see them all over the map. But for being, 5, 6, 7 days out, that's pretty consistent. There they are around Florida. They're all almost kind of giving this Florida-ish trajectory. 6, 7, 8, 9 days out, right? Let's switch over to the European ensembles. There goes Fiona. Let me scroll this down. There they are in the Central Caribbean, right? That time frame is Sunday, September 25th. Pretty much all together. I mean, it's wild, isn't it? Now, the European, look at it. They're pretty tight in agreement with at least a Gulf scenario. Exact Gulf paths, not 100% there. Okay, now, couple things here. I always tell you, we're not hyping it. I don't want you to confuse my transparency with hype. I'm not sitting here saying we should prepare for a Category 7 storm. I am, however, saying, wow, all the models basically are giving the same kind of information. Now, I'm going to take it a step further and look at how this could play into our long-range forecast. I was looking at this last night on our evening coffee talk, but this seemingly plays into the 500 millibar level pattern of the Florista, the November 5th, 6th storm system, which impacted Florida. Mid-May, when it cycled through, it brought us an area of low pressure, but not tropical. Okay, perfect. Late July brought us an area of low pressure, non-tropical, perfect. That late September window, we're going to see. But late September, that was a part of our hurricane season forecast that we issued March. Yeah. So, yeah, things are getting interesting out there. All right. Again, I'm not hyping. I want to make sure you know this. There's going to be a lot of talk of this over the next few days' time. I will promise you, you're going to get all the data. You're going to ask all the questions, and I will do my best to answer them. But it's going to be an interesting one. I'm just going to be honest with you. Well, what do you really think? I think it's going to be an interesting one. That's where we're at. Anthony's asking, can it skirt South America and keep it weaker a little longer, therefore go further west longer? Yeah, it's possible. It can. It can. Frank says we will know more at the end of the week. Exactly. I mean, I think that once it starts developing, You know, once it starts developing, that's when the models will start to have a good handle. Plus, once we get recon in there, we'll be able to sample the environment. And I never shared the post, dang it. I was in the middle of something, but I saw an example of a post when it came to Fiona. Before NOAA's P3 tail Doppler went into scan and feed into the computer models, it was just a dramatic uptick in resolution of data. The more data you put into a computer model, obviously, the better it will do. So, to me, that's going to be the big thing. Late this week, we're going to have a much better time frame. We're going to have a much better handle on things. But yeah, I mean, it could completely fall apart. It's getting ventilated by Fiona. I don't think that that's going to fall apart, though. Yeah, I always tell everybody, though, that asks, like, oh, this is your Super Bowl. You love this. I love the science of tropical meteorology. But being a family guy who owns a home, I don't love ever being a threat. Right? Like, I get why Colorado State University does the forecasts. Perfect. You get to sit there in your bunker in Colorado and not have to worry about ever getting hit. Smart. That's smart. You get to do all the tropical stuff without having to deal with the worry of it hitting you. So, Phil Klotzbach, Dr. Bill Gray, I raise my mug to you all. Frank says, stay away from Daytona, please. My brother Frank says, you're saying we should evacuate. Yes, it should stay away from Daytona. No, I'm not saying that we should evacuate. Alan says it's going to Florida because of a cool front coming next week. Well, the dynamics are definitely eye-raising, right? That's definitely the concern. And one of the pieces of this will be, how does it play into the A-Bear box, right? Let me do this. This is a graphic that I was planning on making later. But of course, it's coffee talk, so why not just bore you guys with me building a quick graphic? So I've got my A-Bear box graphic built. I already took the time to place these boxes correctly. Let me do this. Give me a few seconds. I'm going to move it into the box so that you can see. I'm going to try and shrink this a little bit. All right. So it's not beautiful, but oh geez, I shrank it too much. But for our sake of argument, at least, you should be able to see kind of what I'm working on. Can you? Yeah, you can kind of. This is definitely peeling back the curtain. All right, so there are the boxes. Let me turn off that. Let me turn off that. And actually, I'll do it even easier. Hold on a second. Polygon, copy you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that box, the left-hand A-Bear box, and just for a moment, I'm going to put it on a computer model. And that will at least give us the nerddom wisdom of, is this thing going through the A-Bear box? And if you're unfamiliar with what the A-Bear box is, the overall idea of the A-Bear box was that he was a forecaster at the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center, and he found that most decent hurricanes that moved through these boxes liked coming around to South Florida. All right, so that's why, to me, all right, I'm just going to save this temporarily. I'll go back in and I'll remove the A-Bear box. That way Kellyanne's not like, what is this box doing here? All right, give it a second. Close out of view, open you. Okay, all right, so here's the European. It's just the first thing that I could find. You could see how the model's initializing. And we'll just kind of go through time, and you can see it's trying to get its act together. There's the A-Bear box. It looks like it goes through the A-Bear box Monday. Yep, goes right through the A-Bear box. Okay, well, there's my answer. Right? Cool. And if it's a decent hurricane in that moment, obviously that, that's not what you really like to see. All right, let me remove that. I'll just leave it there. Okay, anyway, now to questions. Now that I've been yentering around playing with the computer for forever. Model runs equal good bowl of spaghetti models. Well, and we should, Brian, we should start getting the tropical models coming in later today. Once the National Hurricane Center dubs this Invest 98, which, Kellyanne and I were chatting. We kind of can't believe that they haven't done it yet, but at any rate, they haven't. So once they do, I will be posting models as much as I can to make sure that you guys and gals are aware of it. Okay, Amy, so appreciate your approach to everything and keeping us informed. Thank you, Amy. Yeah, that's my promise. I will be fully transparent with you. A lot of my colleagues don't love sharing model data way down the line. And I understand if it's like one model shows something scary and then other models don't. But as Christy points out, consistent model runs equals not good. Right. Not the best. So, yeah. That's where we're at. Brian, question. Eric, I know that a strong storm is out in the Atlantic Ocean, that rip currents are dangerously high. My question is, how long after the storm passes by can the rip currents still be dangerously high from the ocean being churned up by a storm? Great question, Brian. So you're referring to Fiona. Think about it. It all has to do with how long it takes for the waves from Fiona to move, right? So Thursday, Friday, and even into the weekend, I would say that we're looking at a high risk of rip currents. By early next week, things should start to subside, but then obviously it's like, well, what's going on with this other thing in the Caribbean? So yeah, great question. It depends on how quickly the storm is moving, but I would say Saturday perhaps a little lower, Sunday perhaps a little lower, and then Monday we're kind of back. Owen says, Ensemble consistency on a system that isn't even an invest yet. Isn't that wild? That's kind of the interesting element here, is that the models are surprisingly consistent. I mean, I don't like that. A Cat 7, Cliff says, yeah. Can you show the previous tracks of the November pattern? I can, but not easily. But that's not a bad graphic to make. I'm going to take a note of that in the, let's see here, to-do list. Stand by. November storms near this new one. That's a graphic. Like where in the month, not in November. I put the wrong month. September storms near this new one. Because what I'll do is I'll query the computer system and say, okay, within, we'll say 100 miles of this location, what storms developed during the month of September and where did they go? There's an interesting graphic. Thank you for that. What could keep the storm west? Giovanni's asking. So if this stays weak, it'll just keep going west. I don't think that it's going to be weak. B, you would have to be lacking cold fronts to kind of pick it up and turn it. We're getting cold fronts. So at some point it's going to recurve. Christy points out all components are there for a major hurricane. It is what it is. Correct. This is an area, think about it. This is going to be, once it gets past Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and Haiti, and the Caribbean, we've not had any beefy storms there. So the ocean heat index is there. The water temperatures are hot. There will be low shear. So the environment is there, yeah, to have a pretty decent storm. Yeah. Sharon, good morning to you. Sharon says, so basically we're in the cone, right? No, there's no cone over Florida. There's no cone generated. But basically we're going to need to watch, right? And I want to point out, too, that this is not guaranteed to get a particular name because in addition to Fiona, interestingly enough, we haven't talked about it because it's not going to bother us, and this other one might. But in the North Atlantic, there is Invest 97 with an 80% likelihood of developing. So you got Fiona, Cat 3, you've got Invest 97 in the North Atlantic, not going to bother us, and then there's what's going to become Invest 98 off to the south. So it's kind of I don't think that the storm we're watching gets named Gaston. Gaston more than likely will be that North Atlantic feature, and Hermine will become whatever this is. So, we're not guaranteed into what name happens what. That's why I always like to pick on my colleagues that are like, this is Gaston to be. Not necessarily, buddy. You have to see what forms, and nothing is guaranteed until it happens. So Gaston and Hermine are the next two names, and more than likely, Gaston will be named for the system in the North Atlantic, Invest 97. All right. Rebecca says, terrified of storms. Well, you've made it to the right place because knowledge is power, and I'm going to give you all the information. I'm also going to tell you no need to be terrified. They happen. We just have to watch, understand, and move through it, right? That's all. All right. Lourdes, OMG, you look very skinny. Tell me your secret. Gastric bypass. Yeah, that's where we're at. Ormond Beach agrees with Frank. Yeah. So everybody now. Yeah. Christy says when Josh Morgerman Ice Cyclone shows up, I'm out. Yeah. Let's keep him out. I love his work, but let's keep him out. Francis, number 1, your dog had a great bowl of water. Yeah. Rocky almost cleared out the bowl. The central pressure at 954 is way lower than current Fiona at 115 at 967. Exactly. Right. But again, models are guidance, not gospel. So don't take that to the bank. Right? So didn't Fiona go through one of the boxes? Yeah, Tom, Fiona went through one of the A-Bear boxes. But that box, usually the first box on the right, if we look at, let me pull up the A-Bear graphic. So there's 2 A-Bear boxes. And most of the time, and it's going to have Fiona models on it because we haven't updated it. All right, hold on. There are the 2 A-Bear boxes. All right, so the one on the left is usually late season storms like September, October, November. The one on the right is usually the June, July, August boxes. So, yes, Fiona went through the one on the right, but it was not a hurricane. The kind of caveat to this is you usually see the hurricanes, even stronger hurricanes, if they go through the boxes. All right, and just to kind of put perspective, Charlie, Francis, Wilma, Irma are storms that went through the A-Bear boxes. So it looks like, if the European has its way, it looks like this next thing, will go through that left A-Bear box, which is the late season A-Bear box, which certainly would have us on a little bit of an attention. By the way, I stopped short of this, but transparency, I want to be fully transparent with you. Let's come back and look at the GFS because I wasn't exactly done. This is why it's almost laughable. All right, so let's roll through time. So what you're looking at is this next thing, right? All right, that's a scary look. That's hour 200, 225. The GFS goes 384 hours out. Okay? All right. I'm going to show it. He's hyping. Shut up. I'm not hyping. Okay? I'm going to show what the GFS shows with context. All right, so there's that storm, and that's already like a bad day. Now we get into October 2nd. What's going on in the Caribbean? That's October 5th. Seriously? The very last few frames. That is hour 384. That is October 6th. With another storm near Florida. Now, perspective, right? Let's go back one model run. Nada. Let's go back 2 model runs. Nada. So the 6 seed today decided I'm going to perk everybody up at the end. That would be a second storm. I'm not saying that that's happening. But, we'll watch for that. The consistency is in that first storm. The GFS is going to GFS, but vetting it is important. This first, that you see on the screen, that has model consistency, not only run to run, but also showing across the board from the GFS to the European to the insert model name here. As I see, Gary Lezak is texting me, so I'm going to have to bother Mr. Gary Lezak himself to chat about it. Again, loving tropical meteorology, very different than loving a storm coming. Yeah. Betty, last time I remember the Euro and GFS agreeing was Irma. Well, they always like to get into agreement eventually. The thing that's interesting about this is that we are 7-10 days out and they're in agreement. That's where it's like, oh, boy, don't like that very much. Beth, no questions here. Been here, done this, Floridian here, hurricane PTSD. Oh, it's not fun. Certainly not fun, but yeah, we'll get through it together. Tom points out, odd for them to be consistent this early, so I'm going to wait and see. And that's, if you're a Floridian, if you're either a native Floridian like I am, or if you're we've welcomed you into our community with open arms, you're here now Floridian, then yeah, you'll be okay. The key thing to remember, Dennis Phillips in Tampa, he's a chief meteorologist at the ABC station there. He came up with this, like, I don't even know how it came to be, but he always says rule number 7. And like the idea for him is he's got like these hurricane rules, and rule number 7 says don't freak out until I freak out. And I love that. I mean, I'm not going to steal rule number 7, but like ever since I started learning weather, that's the idea. Like, don't freak out. We're not going to be able to change anything. So what we can do is be prepared. We can understand what's happening and go from there, right? That's why Coffee Talk exists, to be here, to chat with you, to help keep you up to date. And we'll be here 7 days a week. I can tell you this. No matter what's going on, I'll be here at 8 o'clock. And because we're starting to watch the tropics a little more closely, we will do a 3:30 this afternoon Coffee Talk. When I'm in from Amalfi tonight, I will see you at 9 p.m. We're going to do an evening one. All right? There's a lot to talk about. We're going to be here. And I'm not going to hype you. Okay? It's not Hermione. Oh, I guess I have to look at the pronouncer. I don't know. Christian says, don't freak out. Always be prepared. And this man will give you all the information you need. Thank you. Sabirs is asking, how does September 32nd look? Yeah, I said that last night. Oh, well. Kelly says, Irma sucked. 16 days, no power. Yeah, let's hope we don't do that again. Vanessa says, I hate this so much, but I really hate what this could potentially mean for next season. The second one, yeah. Well, this because we're now, we will be transitioning to that newer LRC pattern, right? Yeah. Heather points out, and this is so true, 1 model run, snort. 2 model runs, interest. 3 model runs, ears perk up. What about like 5 or 6 model runs, right? Yeah, that's the problem. Wendy says the waiting is the hardest part. I know. But that's why we just look, we track, we do our thing. Kristen says, no hyper panic, always been prepared. Yep. That's it. All right. Any questions? Anything? Have a great day today. Nap time for me. Had a bad night's lack of sleep. Bruce, get some sleep, buddy. Nikki, your dedication is much appreciated. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Christy says 5 or 6 model runs, grab all the water and bread. Well, don't do that. Yeah. Well, either way, Florida's already flooded. So, question mark. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Chris says, I love tracking hurricanes. I do too. I just don't love tracking them when they may be a Florida thing. So we'll be watching, tracking, all that fun stuff. That I can promise you, my friends. Okay? I could also tell you that Manifoli and I text, he's just as nerdy as I am. He's like my annoying much older brother. Like, much older brother. Okay, maybe he's more like that annoying cousin. At any rate, he and I will be chatting today. We'll be updating each other. He's off of work, but like I said last night on Coffee Talk, you could take the weather nerd out of the weather center, but you can't take the weather center out of the weather nerd. So we'll be tracking it all for you. All right, so 3:30 today, I will see you for an afternoon quick update, Coffee Talk, and then I'm on the air, I believe, 5, 5:36, 10, and 11, and we'll do a 9 p.m. evening Coffee Talk. All right. Nikki points out or asks, should I be considering delaying our pumpkin patch setup on October 1st and semi-truck of pumpkins being delivered on the 3rd? By the 3rd, whatever this would be moving out. And remember, this time of year, Nikki, you know as well as all of us, tropics are always one of those things, right? I know it doesn't like play in good to laying out a beautiful pumpkin patch, but There's always a threat. I would say at least for this first one, with the model consistency, you'll be okay. The second one, we'll figure that out when we get to it, right? It's like that's step 15. We're on step 2. We'll get there. We'll get there together, all right? All right, be the sunshine in someone else's day. I will see you guys and gals live at 3:30 for the afternoon coffee talk.